What's going on, geeks and gamers? It's Uche coming to you with my first video. Let me start this video by saying I'm glad to be here at Geeks and Gamers. I've been a fan of the channel for a long time, and I'm really looking forward to helping Jeremy build this into something that's going to be a force to be reckoned with on the sports wars side, as well as in the Geeks and Gamers side. I know on Geeks and Gamers a lot we talk about the mishandling of the Star Wars franchise. We talk about how Kathleen Kennedy has driven the Star Wars franchise into the ground because she's drowned it in the politically correct, in the woke, quote unquote, woke culture. And that's true. I agree with them on that. But I also think there's another franchise that's being mishandled egregiously. And that's the DCEU. I love the DCEU. Snyderverse was my first real look at a comic book universe that is everything that I dreamt of when I was a kid. DC Comics has been the label that I've stood by when it comes to comic books and when it comes to entertainment. I've been a lifelong fan of DC Comics. It's been a cornerstone for me in the comic book world ever since I was a little kid. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Justice League. I mean, these are classic names. These are classic brands and classic comic book stories that have been told for going on 80 years. And when we finally get the opportunity to have a director with the vision, a director who has the knowledge, who understands the lore, who is himself a fan of DC, when we get that kind of director to come in the door and lay out a vision, what happens? The Snyderverse is torn apart by the executives at WB. That's the real travesty. Star Wars has been around for 40 years in movies. The DCEU was the first true attempt at building a universe that gave us the epic stories, the epic tales of gods among men. Now, for me, it all starts with Man of Steel. Man of Steel for me was a masterpiece, a classic superhero tale. Everybody associates Superman as this Boy Scout, all-American, truth, justice, and the American way superhero. And in a certain respect, he is that. But let's be real. Superman is an alien. And in today's society, Superman wouldn't be held with the same regard as an all-American Boy Scout, as a truth, justice, and the American way superhero that would have been shown to him in that golden age of superhero comics. Now, for me, I've always been a huge Batman fan. But with the Snyderverse, with the DCEU, I was shown Superman's origin in a way that I'd never really imagined it being told. A down-to-earth, grounded, and still fantastically spectacular telling of the origin of Superman. So when these critics come out and give it a 60%, I'm looking at it like, what the fuck is this? These critics don't know what the hell they're talking about. Because this movie is the Superman that we wanted for years. Superman Returns was garbage. Superman Returns was that emo, lethargic Superman and the clumsy, over-the-top, stupid Clark Kent that nobody really, that's old news. That's cheese. Nobody wants that kind of Clark Kent anymore. And one of the biggest complaints of Man of Steel for a lot of fans was that at the end of the movie, there was a lot of destruction, a lot of buildings getting knocked over. And at the end of the fight with Zod and Superman, Kal ends up breaking Zod's neck. And people had a problem with this. Think about this. This is his first day as Superman. His first day as a superhero. You know what? No, it wasn't his first day as a superhero. He'd been saving people all his life. He just hadn't done it in a way where he put himself out there as the Man of Steel, as this new guardian for the human race. But in this final third act of Man of Steel, Kal-El is given a choice. Either you kill Zod or Zod will destroy this world. He's going to take every one of them. These humans you've chosen, I will destroy all of them. Either you die or I do. Those are the words that came out of Zod's mouth in the third act. So Superman was left with only one choice, only one decision to be made. And that was to become the last son of Krypton. By killing Zod, he became the last of his kind. He sided with the human race because the human race was all he knew. So at the end of the day, Man of Steel provided a perspective that I just don't think people were quite ready for. With that, Zack Snyder laid the groundwork, laid the first stone in the DCEU. And from there, he introduces, in a very smart way, Bruce Wayne into the DCEU in Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman, for me, was a great movie. I won't say it was a masterpiece because there were some elements that I wish would have been done a little bit differently. The reason why Batman v Superman wasn't received critically as well as one would have hoped is because there was a bar that was already set by the MCU at this point in terms of what was expected in a superhero movie. For me, I was never a huge fan of the MCU just because it felt a little bit too much like a TV series. There didn't feel like there were any real consequences in the storytelling. You know, there wasn't any kind of gravitas. This was all just guys, you know, superheroes, men running around, men and women running around trying to be extraordinary. And they were. Iron Man, I will give Iron Man its credit. Iron Man was a great character for the MCU. But after Iron Man, I find it very hard to find a compelling character. I personally didn't even like Black Panther. You have to really go deeper into Batman v Superman to understand the storytelling and how it's put together. Batman v Superman was put together as a epic, as a Greek epic. It rolls along the lines of Greek storytelling. There's a lot of symbolism in Batman v Superman that people don't quite catch on to because it really is pulled directly from Greek storytelling. And people just didn't get it. It went over their heads. Now, moving forward in the DCEU, we all know about the travesty that was Justice League. Now, I know some people will say, oh, well, you know, Justice League was mixed. It had some good parts and it had good parts that were associated with the original concept of the movie from Zack Snyder. Everything beyond that was a total waste of money by WB. I mean, do we have to even really talk about the mustache? When I walked into theaters and they started that scene out with Kal-El in the beginning, I sat there and looked at him because, you know, we all knew that there was a situation with the mustache and that it would present itself in the film. And when I sat and watched the opening scene, it was so awkward. It was awkward to see Henry Cavill's mouth look so warped and so animated. It was jarring. It took people out of the film before the film really ever got started. And from there, you know, you can just go through the list. It's been documented and redocumented 100 times about how bad WB screwed up Justice League. You can't even bring out another Justice League movie for a decade. All in all, the DCEU started off with such promise. DCEU started out with such hype because it was something that was completely different than what Marvel was doing. Because of the reactionary tendencies that WB has and their propensity to continue to interfere with their director's work, it went from a extremely promising universe to a kind of patchwork universe that we're now seeing. Yes, we had Aquaman. Yes, we had Shazam. Yes, we had Wonder Woman. All great films. But at the same time, the lack of any connective tissue between the films in any way outside of Aquaman did kind of pull down the entire extended universe concept. At the end of the day, the DCEU set its own path when it started with Man of Steel. It was setting its own path and its own unique way of storytelling that gave a stark contrast to what we saw in the MCU. And that was a good thing. It shows that Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm aren't the only ones out there ruining franchises. The WB has had its own share of interruption in multiple franchises in their DCEU that have literally created a combobulated mess that does nothing but weaken the brand of the DCEU. So with that all being said, I appreciate you guys. Keep it locked to Geeks and Gamers, and I will talk to you in the next one. Peace.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy from geeksandgamers.com, and if you're a fan of Geeks and Gamers, please go to our website, visit our merchandise store. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, tank tops, and in the very near future, we're going to have many more products for you to choose from. So thank you for the support. We appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.